Hello. Welcome back. I have for you today a article from Robert Whiting's Japan, robertwhiting.substack.com, which came out today, January 7th, 2024. And Robert is currently in the United States where he's vacationing. So this article is from California. Accident at Haneda Airport brings back memories of a tragic year for aviation in Japan. California. That's where he is right now. I read with interest of the horrific crash at Haneda Airport between a Japan Airlines jetliner the evening of January 3rd as it landed and taxied down the runway, and the Coast Guard aircraft getting ready to take off. All 379 passengers on the JAL flight escaped without injury in what was a miraculous evacuation, but 5 of the 6 crew members on the Japan Coast Guard plane died. The lone survivor, the pilot, claimed he had clearance from the control tower to take off, but communication transcripts indicate otherwise. The pilot of the JAL flight said he did not see the JCG craft enter the runway. It reminded me of early 1966 when I was a student at Sophia University, having just returned from San Francisco on JAL when a rash of accidents occurred at Haneda. On February 4th, All Nippon Airways Flight 60, a Boeing 727 from Sapporo, crashed into Tokyo Bay, attempting to make a night landing at the airport. The pilot had radioed while approaching Haneda that he was going to land without the use of instruments. All 133 people on board, most of them from seeing the snow festival in Hokkaido, perished. Fisherman and Self-Defense Force personnel helped recover the bodies from the murky waters. A month later, on March 4th, the Canadian Pacific Flight 402, a Douglas DC-8 coming in for a stopover at Haneda on its way to Vancouver from Hong Kong at 8 p.m., struck their approach lights and a seawall at the airport and crashed. 64 of the 72 on board died. The next day, a BOAC Flight 911, a Boeing 707, taxied past the still smoldering wreckage of the Canadian plane and took off from Haneda bound for London with 124 passengers and crew on board. It broke up shortly thereafter while flying over Mount Fuji due to especially fierce air turbulence. Speculation had it the pilot had flown too close to the mountain to give the passengers a better view. Among the dead were 75 Americans with a Thermo King company of Minneapolis, Minnesota, on a company-sponsored vacation tour of Southeast Asia. 63 children were orphaned as a result of the accident. An interesting side note was that several people in Japan scouting locations for the James Bond film, You Only Live Twice, had canceled their reservations on the plane at the last minute to stay in the country and see a ninja demonstration. Among them were producers Albert R. Broccoli and Harry Saltzman, production designer Ken Adam, and director Louis Gilbert. Later that year, in August, a Japan Airlines Convair 880-22M crashed at Haneda and killed 5 people. And finally, on November 13th, All Nippon Airways Flight 533 crashed while landing, not at Haneda this time, but at Matsuyama, Ehime Prefecture, killing 50 people. It was what you would call a bad year for aviation in Japan. Public confidence in air travel was shaken, and both JAL and ANA had to cut back on flights due to reduced demand. However, none of the accidents were as bad as August 12th, 1985, involving Japan Airlines Flight 123, a Boeing 747 with over 500 people aboard, traveling during the Obon holiday, that suffered a structural failure on a flight from Haneda to Osaka and crashed in the mountains, 62 miles east of Haneda. Some 505 passengers were killed along with 15 crew members. 4 people survived but were seriously injured. It was the deadliest single aircraft accident in aviation history. The structural failure caused by poor repair of prior damage and maintenance by Boeing technicians had disabled all of the airplane's flight controls, and the plane flew for more than half an hour under almost no control before it crashed into Mount Takamagahara at approximately 7 p.m. A United States Air Force crew spotted the plane and prepared an emergency rescue operation, but it was aborted at the last minute by Japanese authorities. A Japan Self-Defense Rescue group did not arrive at the scene until the next morning. One of the survivors, JAL purser Yumi Ochiai, said from her hospital bed that she could hear screams of passengers during the night, but they gradually faded away. JAL bookings dropped by a third, and JAL share prices fell significantly after this incident. JAL, along with Boeing and the Japanese government, paid compensation to the victims' families. Among the dead was famed singer Q Sakamoto. You might remember him from his song Sukiyaki. Japan Airlines stands to lose a lot of money on Flight 767, but it will no doubt recover. For what it's worth, neither Japan Airlines nor All Nippon Airways were ranked in the Forbes 2023 list of the 20th safest airlines in the world. Australia's Qantas was number 1, followed by Air New Zealand and Etihad Airways. On the other hand, a survey in 2023 by Executive Airlines found that American Airlines and Air France were the world's most dangerous airlines, having each experienced 11 crashes. American Airlines leads in fatalities with 858, followed closely by China Airlines at 760 fatalities and Malaysia Airlines at 537. Neither JAL nor ANA were among the top 20 most risky airlines. See the list here, and there is a link I'll put in the description. It's executiveflyers.com/most-dangerous-airlines/. I usually fly JAL or ANA when I travel abroad, for whatever that's worth. The end. Actually, I do have I have a brief overview of the JAL Flight 123 that was previously cited in August 12, 1985. There is some testimony from a former FAA official who was stationed at the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo. Dennis Willem, I think he is in his 90s and he's still around and retired in Honolulu. I gave him a call several years ago for a piece that Fuji TV was doing. And I think you can probably find enough to indicate that Mr. Willem, along with others at Yokota Air Base, which is kind of west of Tokyo, not only were able to spot the crash, but they were able to get to the crash site that evening. And they also had, I believe, from the Atsugi Marine Airfield, they had helicopters and other rescue ready to go. But at the time, they were told off by Japanese officials. And there was both bureaucratic and also probably some very ignorant nationalistic pride where they didn't want American interference. And as a result, I think that meant that a lot of lives that could have been saved, that opportunity was lost. Anyways, I will do that maybe later. But condolences to those 5 crew members on the Japan Coast Guard plane that lost their lives. And I will come back to you shortly with another of our Robert Whiting's Japan articles. Take care. And if you like this, please like and subscribe.